Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are now listening to That Infernal Noise podcast, part of the Mental Health News Radio Network. Fuck yeah. Hello, everyone. We're back. I don't know if that's a good... No, it is a good thing. I was going to say, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a good thing. Because that means we're here. We made it to another day to record another episode
We're here, we're queer. We don't want any more bears. I don't even remember where I heard that from.
What does that even mean?
We're here, we're queer, and we don't want any more bears. Like, it was something to do with bears, like actual bears.
Oh, because everyone is... Is it because everyone is saying...
I think it was The Simpsons, maybe? Oh. Like, Homer was just saying it because it was, like, catchy or whatever, and they were trying to get rid of bears.
That's hilarious.
I don't know. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. Like, I heard it as a kid.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Because I was thinking...
Because they probably couldn't get away with saying that now. Unless the character was actually homosexual.
Maybe.
And in the 90s, they didn't give a fuck.
This is fair. But I was thinking because they're comparing everything like, 101 bear versus 100 whatever. So.
If you're the dumbass that said, oh no, I'd fucking fight the bear, you're stupid. Alex the Terrible is terrified of fighting bears, and he's actually pretty good at it. And he doesn't want to do it. He just thinks it's entertaining, and he likes bears.
It's a wild sentence to say out loud. I'm just saying.
I think it's fucking cool that he's starting, like, an abandoned bear...
Oh, yeah, like,
charity. I don't even know how to explain that.
Oh, not a...
Like a preserve kind of thing. I don't know. But I heard something about it, that he's actually taking bears that were abandoned by their mother and, like, taking care of them and raising them.
That very
scary... Well, he probably isn't raising them, but somebody is raising them on his behalf kind of thing.
That very scary man is very sweet. He is a very scary man, though.
And then watching him do a music video and a song with baby metal and just looking like he's having the time of his fucking life.
Yes.
It's great.
That was awesome.
Because not that long ago, the metal community would not have accepted baby metal. And even now, they're still detractors. I like baby metal. I think they're fun.
You know way more about the politics of it.
It's the stupid tribalism shit that's existed in everything forever.
It's
not metal enough. Like, they say that about Metallica. Like, their fucking name is Metallica. They have sold the most records of any metal band ever.
Yes.
And you still want to, like, just let it go. It's more thrashy. Yeah, I'll give you that. But they started what we know as metal today.
Right.
So, I mean, some people argue Ozzy, Black Sabbath, blah, 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 blah. But that's not the same metal to me. That's rock and roll metal. It's not new. It's not the new era of metal.
Yeah.
And then you have new metal that came from it and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole fucking... It's a rabbit hole.
To me, there are too many categories and my brain shuts down and I'm not saying it all sounds the same.
It doesn't.
There's
very
doesn't.
Distinct sounds. Like, you can hear new metal versus industrial and know that there's a clear sounding difference.
Yes. With that being said, it's all metal to me because, oh, Jesus. No, I hit it. Sorry. But, yeah, It doesn't all sound the same, but it's all the same title because it gets too convoluted. And yes, I understand that there's alternative and there's this and that. Like, I get it, but it gets too convoluted. Everybody has to be unique,
so they all create their own genre kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, That's why I try not to worry about it. I am partial to new metal because I like the hybrid hip-hop metal thing. Always have, because I'm a hip hop head and a metal head, so put them together. I don't care
Yes.
what anybody says. Limp Bizkit's a fucking dope ass band.
I've loved them for a long time.
So have I, and
So-
I've gotten shit for it. It's just like, no, Limp Bizkit's fucking dope because they can do both. Like, Fred can rap. Nobody realizes Fred can rap,
No.
like, legit, but he can. And I know that because on Soulfly's album, he did the song
that's
Bleed
right.
with Cavalera, and he's doing the rapping part.
I forgot about
On Korn's album, All in the Family, him and John Davis go back and forth. The shit sounds good. He's
Yeah.
good at what he does, and he's got a pretty good scream, and he's got a pretty good growl. Like I don't know. I think people are overcritical.
that. Well, people
It's the
are-
cool thing to hate certain things, and I don't particularly care for that. That's why I just listen to what I listen to, and I don't give a fuck anymore.
Well, people are going to be angry about everything. So just like what you like
Yeah.
without the, like,
Tribalism.
yeah, without the fear or shame of,
But everybody talks shit about
Yeah.
everything, so it's just like, whatever. That's why I just stopped paying attention to it. That's why I kind of feel bad about last week's episode. Because I was super emotional
yeah,
leading up, and I've slept good since. Not the episode, since Mom's birthday.
right.
Like, there was a lot of anxiety and apprehension, I guess, leading up to it. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as it came, everything was fine.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, maybe I was a little too angry. And I wasn't angry. It was just, I was irritated, like, retrospectively looking at everything.
Yes, because
And I think that goes into what we were talking about in it, that it's not linear. Because most days I'm good, I'm fine. Shit still irritates me, but it's not a big deal. And it wasn't really a big deal. It just, that happened to be the time we were recording. Mm-hmm. Because, like, even after that day that we recorded, I wasn't mad. I wasn't irritated with anything. It was just, we were talking about it and it came up. But I don't know. Ezra.
Go somewhere. My God. I think that it's. I hate to say that. Yeah, I mean, I hate to just say yeah. I agree with you, but it's so because I do agree with you.
I know
that
it's more nuanced than that, I'm sure. But
Oh, definitely, because it could be, like you were saying, hour to hour, and you just have to really practice.
I'm lucky I'm not that unstable anymore. Like, realistically, I'm pretty even keel, I think, for the most part now. Like, my highs aren't as high, my lows aren't as low.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. Now that you're back on medication, excuse me.
Meditation.
I felt another one. But now that is back in your routine, you are a little more even kill, which makes it a little bit easier when things come up, because then you're not like
Freaking the fuck out.
Well, yeah.
There's no other way to put it. That's what would happen. Like, one monkey wrench would come into play, and I'd just not shut down. I'd freak out. I'm like, fuck, are you fucking serious? Like, did it? And
Right.
I just
But-
don't have it in me anymore.
But with sorry, I had to remember. But practicing mindfulness. It's literally like you have to check yourself and like take personal inventory at different moments of the day, because something can happen and it triggers like and moves something in you and you feel weird and you're like, wait a minute, why? And you have to, people don't do that on a regular basis. They just like, oh, if something feels off, and it's hard to stay on top of that. It's kind of exhausting sometimes, or it can be overwhelming at times, which can become exhausting. But, it's what you have to do. You have to keep those things in mind and check yourself on those things so you don't take whatever is going out or going on inside of you out on other people. So
that was my big problem. Being honest, that's what it was.
It happens, but
I couldn't deal with whatever it was.
Was it you couldn't accept the truth of it? Like that's what it was for you?
I didn't want to. I didn't want to acknowledge it.
Oh, okay.
Near as I can figure.
That makes a lot of sense.
Kaylee pops into my head a lot with that. Because it was more apparent then. I'm sure if I really sat down and thought about it with Chris, it'd probably be the same thing. It's just easier to remember the Kaylee shit because I was already like half out of the fog. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
We both have been doing a lot more of, our own personal, like, self-inventory or just check-ins.
See, I already had the inventory part down. It's just I didn't do anything with
it. You're like, yeah.
Because I already knew all my shortcomings because you would hear it, like, whenever I was still drinking, the shit would come out. Like, my insecurities, my fears, and, like, the things that I thought I was doing wrong would always come out.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't come out any other time because I just refused to acknowledge it.
Yeah. Acknowledging the issue acknowledging your part in the issue can be very, very difficult at times.
At that point, I didn't know how to do it without, well, it'd be better if I wasn't here. You know what I mean?
Still struggle with that. After years of therapy, after everything I know, it's so irritating too. Because I've noticed that at a certain point or at a certain threshold of bullshit in my head,
it still goes there.
Unfortunately, sometimes it does, where it's just like, fuck. Is that the best option? Is that the easiest option? And
it's not necessarily like self-harm shit.
No.
It's deuce the fuck out kind of thing.
Yeah, because
at least with me, it's more that than the other now.
Yeah.
And even then, that's, for me, it's seldom. I'm not speaking for you, obviously, but for me, I don't think that. I'm like, well, fuck, if anybody doesn't like it, just don't come around me anymore. I don't know what you want me to say.
Yeah, my mother raised a runner. So I think that...
You would think mine did, too. Like, realistically, but for some reason, I don't have that in me.
And the thing is that I run in different ways than she did. She would literally, like... take
off.
Bounce out. Which, like...
Some of the situations was warranted, to be completely fucking honest.
Yes,
I know the stories.
Like leaving my brother's dad at 3 a.m. when he worked graveyard shift.
That was pretty valid.
Yeah,
from the story I know.
There was domestic violence and, things like that. So, of course, that's valid. Like, if you feel that that's all you can do. But I ran emotionally, or I am learning to not do that, but I run emotionally. I retreat within and I just act like everything's fine. We're good.
And it helps that you have somebody that can see through that bullshit.
Yeah, because for the longest time, everybody was just like, yeah, okay, cool. You good? Good. Cool.
I don't do, but I also do that, so I can see through it a lot easier than most people.
That's fair.
I would think.
But I also have a face that does what it wants, so...
Yeah, and the fact that nobody picked up on that shit
Everybody
before me, it's just like...
It was just easier.
She's not a bitch. Like, I don't think you are.
That's what it was.
And maybe I'm just that big of an asshole to where my tolerance is higher. I don't know, but like, you're not a mean-spirited person. You're not cunty. You're not any of that.
It was easier for people to just label me a bitch
and move on
about their business. Because one, if if I don't vibe with you, it's
obvious immediately.
It is, because I know I have the ability to be really, like, I can be mean, and not because I want to be, because it's like, I can say the truth in a very matter-of-fact way. And people don't like that. So if I say the truth...
It's a wonder we're together.
So, like, if I say things, even though they are true,
it sounds shitty.
Yeah.
That's the same thing I do. So.
And so...
I am working on it. Like, I don't want to sound like an asshole all the time, but...
Yeah.
For somebody that gets accused of not having thick skin, I'm just saying, it seems like I have the thickest skin because I can take a lot more than most people.
I don't know. I've
had everything possible levied against me, and I'm just like, okay.
I don't think I have thick skin. I mean, I do, but I don't.
You do to a certain extent. Like, you have your trigger button, like your trigger buttons, your triggers, or your buttons.
Yes, the trigger buttons.
I mean, it can be like a nuclear strike, so I guess technically.
I'm just saying.
But you do have that.
Yeah.
And once they get hit, like, that's about it.
Yeah.
Me, I can... not necessarily bury it down, but I'll let it go. I'm like, okay. And just kind of like nod it off. And then it keeps going, and then it keeps going, and then I snap. And they're like, well, why the fuck are you reacting like that? Well, you kept doing this. It's like with the kids, like with Logan specifically, is like, I told you to stop, buddy, stop.
Yes.
Stop. And then it just escalates from there. Why are you yelling at me? I told you to stop 4 fucking times before I yelled. Like, what do you...
Why?
And that was the same thing with the other 3. It's like, well, you just yell all the time because you don't listen until I yell. And you and I have had that conversation. And there were times where I went from 0 to 100 without any steps. I'm not arguing that.
I'm just saying.
But more often than not, there was an escalation. I said, hey, chill.
Yeah.
And then it ramped up.
Yeah. My thing is, I'm trying to learn to accept the fact. I'm having to learn that, or accept that not everyone is going to know the whole story. I have to accept the fact that even if everyone knew the truth, that it may not
change anything.
Change anyone's point of view.
More than likely, it's not going to.
And I have to accept the fact that we may miss out on time or things because of that, unfortunately. And we have to be okay with that. Because the alternative is putting ourselves in situations that no one else would force themselves to put them. You know, like...
That's not true. People would do it, but they do it because, see, I'm trying. Like, I'm being mature about this and blah, blah, blah. But it's not what it is.
Yeah.
I am well aware of that, but it's the keeping up of image.
Yeah.
And neither one of us give a shit about our image at this point.
Yeah, because people are gonna...
Because we don't try to control the narrative. It's the exact opposite. We let the narrative be what it is, and you come to me and tell me what it is.
Yeah.
Because that's the important perception, not mine. It's yours, regardless of if it's the kids or you or whatever.
Yeah, I'll tell you as much as is appropriate. Like, depending on the situation. Like, if it is with the kids, like, I will tell you as much oh, Jesus fucking Christ. I will tell you as much as is appropriate. Like, the amount that is appropriate for me to tell my children about any given situation, I will tell them that amount. Fuck, I don't know why that was so hard. You know, because some of it is not my story to fucking tell. And going back, it may be taken some kind of way that it is not intended.
It's always taken some kind of way.
And that's okay.
That's debatable.
I have to let it be okay.
I'm not arguing that. Like, and I have a big problem with that.
I understand that, and nothing against the kids or anything, but you know, because we are not allowed to say the complete truth, and then that's...
But we don't. And you and I have had the discussion of, like, there's certain things that it's a no-win situation for us.
And that's...
Like, if we don't say anything, we look guilty. If we do say something, we're being bitter.
Yeah, and
it's just like...
It's pointless.
I don't see the point in any of it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm done mudslinging and all that shit.
And that's the thing
is that... it's not fun for me.
And that's the thing, is that it was never like a mudsling kind of thing, but...
I'm saying from the perception of it.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. I don't care about it. Like, realistically, I don't. I just get heated sometimes because it vexes me, as I feel it should.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, I just let it go. Because what am I going to do about it? I can't change the narrative because I don't believe in controlling narratives. You know, that's just me, though. I let people think what they want to think. I encourage people to think what they want to think about everything.
No, that's fair. I struggle with that because it's like, in any given situation, across the table, in any situation, in any kind of relationship, friendship, whatever, if the tables were turned, and I'm just learning to, like, let it go. Like, it is what it is. If someone wants to know my side of the story,
story.
Huh?
Any story.
Well, yeah. Then we'll have that conversation. And if not, then...
So be it.
You know, I have to realize that no matter what, the situations are what they are, and it is what it is, and whatever. Like, a lot of doubles there. But I can't... Because I'm like the overthinker who tries to think, well, if this happens in this situation, what would I say, and how could I? And it's exhausting. So, it's
hypervigilance.
Yeah, it's a trauma response. I get it. I understand why. It's just like putting into practice of actually stopping that
the train of thought.
Yeah, stopping that
it's
thought
not
process.
stopping the train of thought. It's understanding it
and redirecting.
Yeah.
So it's very
Again,
much...
we know all of this shit. It's just putting it into practice.
It's
the
hard
difficult part.
actually doing it. Because all it does is get you heated. And feeding into it, it's like... So what I've been having to do is I'll flat out stop it. Like, I will, hey, you don't have to prepare. And that kind of jolts everything. Like, oh, wait, okay. I am preparing for something that may or may not ever happen. It's frustrating.
I get it.
But I have to do it more and more to practice. I have to do it in order to create those new neural pathways. I have to do it. And you kind of have to, I know that we talked about, when was it? I don't remember, kind of irrelevant of when, but you were saying that you didn't know how to parent that angry teenager side. And it's like
yeah,
doing,
that was a while ago.
I was like, I don't remember when. But...
Yeah, because I figured out how to parent the lonely kid. I figured that part out because I had to figure it out with my kids. They felt abandoned or mistreated in a lot of the same ways that I did, and I had to deal with that with them. So I figured out how to do it with them myself. They never got to be angry teenagers.
Right.
Some was their own doing because they were afraid of the reaction. Some was very directly because I wouldn't allow it.
Yeah. Which,
in hindsight, was a mistake. I should have let them feel their feelings and all that stuff. And I know that now, but it's still difficult to... Because the therapists and the psychologists and all that stuff say that you have to reparent yourself. Mm-hmm. And you have to go in the stages. So you go through the child that wanted whatever. You get through that. And then the next step is the pissed off teenager who didn't get that and turned it into fuck everybody.
Yeah.
And that, if anybody's ever met me, they know that that was still very prevalent way later in my life.
Well, I mean, yes.
And I'm not proud of it, but I never figured out how to parent it because my kids weren't like that.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they weren't like that. Kaylee back talks and she's got a smart mouth, but so what? Like, I'm the biggest smart ass I know.
Yep.
So I try not to get too... I don't get mad about it anymore, but even then I tried not to react the way I should have or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's difficult looking at that because I know even me to me, like if 41-year-old me was to go and meet 16-year-old me, and 16-year-old me knew he turned into me, he'd still be like, fuck you. You know what I mean? It would be combative to no end.
Yes.
And I'm usually the combative one. So I don't know how to handle that.
Yeah.
I know how to handle the people that are not combative because everybody's less combative than me. So I figured that part out. But nobody that is truly combative ever really comes at me. Because I'm way more stubborn and I'm way more aggressive.
That's fair.
So, or I can be. Yeah. I try not to be now, but that version of me, like I'm still working on that part, trying to figure out what that part of me needs.
I recently saw something. It was just like a meme on social media, whichever platform it was on. And I don't remember verbatim what it is. I have it written down, but it was something along the lines of, this is the age
of Aquarius.
Anyway, this is the age where instead of, it was basically saying this is the age where it's the death of old ways or old pieces of you that, and rebirthing yourself into who you're supposed to be. It was the death of...
It's basically an ego death.
Yeah. It was the death of who you were told you had to be, and the birth
of who you want to be,
of who you're supposed to be, of who you are.
Which, that's exactly what I've been going through.
And same. And it's very much... And that explained a lot to me, and it made a lot of sense, because both of those things are very, very fucking painful. As someone who pushed a person out of their body, and I only gave birth the one time, so I don't know what it's like to have a C-section, but I can, that is probably not a walk in the park. Either you were fucking cut, like...
And I don't like the people that are like, oh, you didn't give birth. And like, fuck.
Yes, you
off.
do.
You fucking incubated a child in your body for 9 months. You gave birth regardless.
And then you have to have a major surgery, like
a traumatic surgery.
Surgery to bring life into this world. So yes. So
you just gotta hope that the person doesn't remember the sounds that go on in there.
I don't want to know that.
Because I can remember, and it's fucking gnarly.
Oh, I can.
It sounds like a horror movie going on. Like, no bullshit. It sounds like a horror movie going on.
I can only imagine.
So,
because I don't remember the sounds, but I remember that pain. I don't remember exactly the amount of pain, but I remember
it was an ungodly amount.
Yeah, because I had an epidural port put in, but for some reason or another, it was like, my doctor was like, "You can still feel your toes." I was like, "Yes." They're like, "You shouldn't." I was like, "I know."
Do.
This is an issue, doc, and they were just like, "All right, well, you're just gonna have to raw dog this." Sorry.
Here's a tree branch. Bite down, motherfucker.
But yeah, so, but going, I think those daily or momentary inventories when something is triggering. Okay, why is that? Why is that doing something to me? Where is that coming from? That shadow work is helpful in those moments, and dealing with those. I've noticed those kinds of things help when it comes to letting go of my expectations of the situation, my feelings of injustice in other situations, and whatever the case is. Yeah. And then looking at, okay, I understand that a lot of people's reactions and interactions in the world is because what they're going through. So, okay, let's see. I know XYZ, so why would they be reacting in XYZ? Not to necessarily understand where everyone's coming. Well, it is
partially, yes,
but not to like figure out and
not to accept it, but to understand the perspective of it.
Yeah, because
changing your perception of it is completely different than understanding somebody else's perception of it.
Right.
Because you shouldn't have to agree with them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And not to say that I know that is what it is for sure also. But just
you could see patterns. Like, we've read enough and learned enough about mental health and trauma and whatever else.
Yeah.
To where the shit's pretty fucking accurate.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at A, B, and C, this is the reaction. Okay, well, I know this, and this happened, so realistically, those are the causes for this reaction.
Yeah, I can use context clues with the bits of truth
that
I
do
know.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see, oh, okay. This is a train wreck that everybody's pretending like no, the train's fine. We're going to be there on time.
Everything's fine. Meanwhile,
It's the fucking dog in the room. It's like,
at the table
shit's
with that
on
little
fire.
hat.
Like, this is fine.
This is fine. Yes.
Like, no, it's not. The house is on fire and you're sitting there.
Yes.
Get up and get out of the house.
Fucking call 911.
And I say that as somebody who fucking Anakin Skywalkered himself. So,
I mean,
I'm lucky I still actually have my limbs.
fair. I don't know. It's hard. All of this is like, I understand why people give up. I don't agree with it because I don't want to give up and I don't want to go back to old ways.
It is selfish ultimately.
Yeah. But I understand the ease of it because doing it this way makes people uncomfortable and people don't want to feel uncomfortable. People would rather...
That's why I understand addiction and vices and like all of the shit.
I completely understand.
Not only because I've been there, but because I understand this shit is not fucking easy.
Yeah, this is not for the
like,
faint
and if you
of heart.
believe all of the metaphysicists and all that shit, like we chose this.
Yeah.
And then once you start going down that path, and like, why the fuck would I choose this?
Yep.
And then you have to reconcile that and try to figure out, well, maybe I did. And I was trying to teach myself something. Mm-hmm. And that makes sense for me because that's how I've always been. I try to learn from fucking everything.
And then that goes back into shadow work of, okay, why am I functioning this way?
Mm-hmm. Why am I choosing to react this way? Like, even though I know better than to react this way, I still choose that reaction instead of trying to figure out what the root of it is and change how I react to it.
Yeah.
Which we've both been doing better about, but I'm saying in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, because it's like you going way back to the beginning. All this shit is not linear. It's not. It's, again, moment to moment, day by day. Like, but all of it is a test. The universe is going to keep throwing shit your way.
I didn't like that I didn't like that school of thought initially. Because it's just like, what's the point of that if we're ultimately just gonna die?
We have to learn to do better.
And that's the thing. Is like, that's why, in a certain sense, religion makes sense to me. Because ultimately, that's what they're teaching. To not have these negative things control your life and not react in negative ways, etc.
Okay.
If you really break down the ultimate goal of it. I'm not talking about the spin that people put on it. It's to be a better person.
Yes.
That's the ultimate goal.
Yes.
To attain some form of enlightenment, to go to heaven, whatever you want to call it. That's the ultimate goal with all of it.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to do. So it does kind of make sense. Like, maybe we did choose this because our higher self needed to have an experience to learn from.
Yes.
And that's a mindfuck in and of itself. But
what that we are ultimately...
We're two beings.
Watching ourselves live our lives and guiding ourselves in paths.
Potentially.
To either...
And that's why I still think one of the best books I've ever read is The Daemon.
Yeah.
Because it does talk about that. And I've never resonated with a theory so much in my life.
Yeah. That one...
It just made sense. Like, as soon as, like, things in my life started making sense once I read that book.
Yeah, and that tied in, like, that tied in with Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. And And I like that.
And that theory's been around for a while. I mean,
Yeah.
the one with Jet Li is essentially the same concept. It's the multiversal.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Like all of these different versions of the same energy or whatever you want to call it.
And
then what happens in the one specifically, whenever one dies, all of that energy has to go somewhere.
It does.
And it creates this power vacuum kind of thing to where he just becomes OP by the end of it.
Right. And that's what were we watching the other day where it was whatever theory of source or like the higher power being ourselves and the piece that is here is just a small piece, and then when we die,
it goes back to
it
source.
goes back to source, and that is the small piece that gives us life. I forgot what we were watching, and that was a very interesting.
There's so many different things. It's hard to keep up with all of them.
And I know people.
I see
like,
multiple videos like that on a daily basis.
And I know everything is really vague and like.
But it's not, and I mean, if you're in that lane, you've seen what we're talking about from.
That's fair.
Any number of sources, because I've seen it on. I've seen Rogan talk about it. I've seen Mel Robbins talk about it.
Yes.
Like I've seen all of these different lanes that don't necessarily intersect talk about the same thing.
Yeah.
So
because it is all the same thing.
Or Bashar, that's not the same thing.
But I mean,
Joe Dispenza, he's talked about it.
Yeah. But all of those, whether it be in a metaphysical or scientific or religious thing, it's ultimately all talking about the same thing. And
people lose sight of that.
People do lose sight of that. And
but, I mean, we lose sight of stuff like that on a day-to-day basis whenever it comes to things that irritate us.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
I was just about to say, we even lose sight of that, and we are trying to actively not lose sight of shit like that, be more mindful, and to realize that other people do their own
Everybody's
shit.
Got their own journey. Everybody's got their own experiences, and their experiences frame their perception and reactions.
Yes.
It's just the truth of it all.
100%. Sorry, I have dead skin right here.
And the nature versus nurture argument isn't really necessarily accurate.
Correct.
Because it doesn't take into account everything that shaped that person.
Correct.
And it's not just nature or nurture. It's the perception of the nature and the nurture.
Yes.
And that's the third component of that argument that is very often overlooked.
Yes, because like you were very much the dog that barked back, that bit back, that fought back. And someone else, and you had, you had family that were there, and, grandma and grandpa took good care of you, and, grandma was there for you emotionally and things like that. But you were still very angry, and I don't know if it's because you had someone like grandma that you had like a capacity to be angry, whereas I had someone who was very manipulative, very controlling, and was very fear-mongering.
But
as to why I didn't feel safe to do that.
We were both taught that was what love was. From our matriarch. You were taught that. I was taught the other way. You see what I'm saying? So I expected love to be unconditional and somebody that's there for you and da-da-da-da-da, not taking into account that people don't necessarily function like that, especially whenever the ones that I gravitated towards were the broken ones.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even with you, you're a loving and kind person, but there was still a lot of walls that had to be brought down in order to really connect the way that we needed to.
Yeah, because
the way that I needed you to in our relationship.
For people, like, yes, for our relationship, yes, it needs to be, but that needs to be a connection that is on every, like, if something happened between us and a friend and you would know everything that I had to do with that interaction. And there are people out there that don't function that way, where they're...
I had that thought yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Did you get your haircut yesterday? Or was it Friday? Regardless.
Friday. It was Friday.
Okay.
It was Friday.
Regardless, you got your haircut.
Yes.
And along that same line of thinking, it went to, well, I noticed she got a haircut and we talked about it, but we talked about it beforehand. And then it made me think of that trope that you always see. Well, I got my haircut and he didn't even notice. How is that possible? How little are y'all talking about the shit that is going on to where he didn't know you were going to get a haircut? Mm-hmm. Because if most men have that information up front, well, he didn't listen. How do you know he didn't listen? Are you sure you said it?
To be fair, devil's advocate, because there are, you know, that there are people out there that really don't notice. There are people out there.
I'm that person. I don't notice little shit like that usually, but if I have the information, I make sure to say something.
Right.
Not that I don't mean it. It's just I have to be cognizant of it because I let shit like that go. I don't expect people to notice that shit about me either.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I trimmed my beard. Nobody's going to notice that unless I fucking say it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to get your hair cut. So as soon as you got back, oh, your hair looks good because I know you just came back from that. You know, it's just, I don't know. That stuck in my head for some reason.
But yeah, there are couples out there that don't know the whole story, and it's, I don't know, it's weird to me because we spent so long downplaying ourselves and downplaying what we need and the things we need to communicate that it seems foreign now. Yeah. So
because we tried to tell each other everything.
Yeah.
Even the shit that neither of us want to hear.
Yeah, because since I had my mother, like confrontation, lying, all that shit, like it literally fucks with me physically. It's a complex PTSD symptom.
It's a very visceral reaction.
Yes, I do not do fighting. I don't like to argue, and I understand that disagreements are going to happen, but I don't like screaming, shouting. I don't like arguments. Like, it just gross.
And you are I've told you this a million times, you're the only woman that has said that, and I can tell you actually mean it.
I can't.
Because you
cannot
actually hate confrontation. Every other woman that I've ever been with, in a relationship with, just around whatever, they say that, and they're full of shit. They enjoy the confrontation. They enjoy the, fuck you, like, just, I don't get it. Yeah. I mean, I do because I'm sort of like that, but I'm even trying not to be like that because I know it's not healthy for me.
Yeah, it takes me, to be honest, if we're therapying it, I know exactly where this comes from. Excuse me. It is obviously a trauma response. It is, because my mother was very emotionally immature, and I don't know all of her diagnoses.
I don't think she does either.
I don't think she does either, but I have, in doing my research in surviving dealing with complex PTSD, where it comes from, I've noticed a lot, and I know I'm not a doctor. I cannot diagnose. This is just my hot take on my mother because it's my lived experience. I very much think that there was covert narcissistic tendencies because there were a lot of people that she helped. Like, I'm not saying that she had no capability to
Yeah.
do anything caring or anything
Because
like
she
that.
did. She took in the strays. She did all of that.
Yeah.
I saw it happen.
Yeah. But when you are dealing with someone like that,
It's the Messiah
yeah, there's people that are like, it's when people aren't around.
that you have to worry about. It's the flip.
Yeah. Because and this is why I say narcissistic, and I say
Covert narcissism.
tendencies, because and the covert, yes, because when people were around, it was, she's great, and you saw that, like, oh, she would go to shows and this and that, and
She was the life of the
oh,
party.
she was the life of the
thing.
party, and
Everybody's
she's so
like, oh
great.
my God,
She's
your
so
mom's
much
so
fun,
awesome, blah, blah, blah,
this
blah,
and
blah.
that, and it's like, oh wait, you don't have to deal with her alcoholic
And
ass. You don't have
I agreed with that
Yeah.
until
until you saw
I got to know you and then see the after effect.
the abuse.
And that
Yeah.
you had to deal with and wrangle her, and nobody saw that part because that was removed from the show.
And that's a big thing of, like, people don't understand, people who go no contact, people who deal with these kinds of parents, they don't see.
How could that be true?
Yeah,
Like,
that-
no, that's not them. I know them better than you, even though you spend more time with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why people are like, oh, well, she's so good at this. But she's so sweet. She's so kind. She's so this. She's so that.
happens
Well,
more often than not.
you don't realize the fear mongering that happens. You don't see
Everybody else loves me. Why don't you?
Yeah, maybe.
There's a problem with
Yeah.
you, kind of thing. And it's just.
But
I'm not saying that's the case with
Yeah.
your mom. I'm just saying, like, I've seen that happen.
the level of manipulation, and it's the looks that I would get. It looks like, not saying that she doesn't love me, but I don't know if she actually does, or if she knew what or how to love.
Like, realistically.
Yeah, because I know that she.
Well, I mean, even in, like, our interpersonal relationships, not just with each other, but in general, we thought younger that we had an understanding of what love was supposed to be, not realizing it was completely toxic.
Yeah.
And then as we've gotten older, what we perceive love to be has changed so much because we actually understand what that's supposed to be now.
Yeah. Because, and what I was going to say is that I don't know if she loved me, but I know for damn sure she did not love me the way I needed to be loved.
And that's the difference. And that's what you and I have talked
Yeah.
about so many times. Is like, people, well, I'm here and da 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 da. Like, you're here to your capabilities, not to the need that I have that needs to be filled.
Yeah.
There's a completely different situation. And that's why I say you're the only one that's ever showed up the way that I needed.
Yeah.
Because it's 100% across the board. Like, no question. And, like, I've never had that before. You know, everything's always been limited by one thing or another.
Yeah.
Like, even the unconditional love that I felt with Grandma, there were still certain things that I didn't agree with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she could have stood up more. She could have...
And
You see what I'm saying?
And I feel like, if I'm being honest, I feel like that might be, and that might have been, especially with the older two, one of their issues with me that I have to accept, because
They've outright said it at points.
yeah, because
Where-
I could have,
Dad was fucking crazy and you didn't do anything to stop it, kind of
yeah,
thing.
and it's a hard dynamic. It's a hard dynamic to do, and especially when you feel that you can't do it because I hate to say this
You're the
because I don't
step
feel
parent.
that. Yeah, I'm the step parent, and they're not my kids. Things like that. It is difficult to be in that
But
space.
you also, as the step parent, have to toe that line.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is one thing, and then you overstepped your bounds, and
Yeah,
you're
it
trying to
was-
take my kids, and blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
how do you combat that?
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation. And again,
Because no
that
matter
doesn't-
what, you're in a no-win situation. Because it's
doesn't-
your perception versus their perception, and
Right.
who's right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, in their mind, they're right. In your mind, you're right. So, what the fuck?
Yeah, and again, it doesn't excuse any
No.
bad behavior or me not standing up for them.
But you
enough.
have the tightest rope to walk, in my opinion.
I'm
Because
exhausted.
it was difficult
I'm
for Gabriel
exhausted.
too. I'm not arguing that.
Yeah.
But you were
We
we
were
were the
primary.
24/7
Yeah.
parents or whatever. So we had to deal with navigating all that shit
Yeah.
every single day from sunrise to sunset, their entire lives.
Yeah.
The majority of it.
Yeah.
Because
For
Chris was what? Fuck. 7, whenever
something like that.
me and his mom split.
Something like that.
So Kaylee was 5, 6.
Something
Noe
like that.
was brand fucking new.
a year.
Yeah.
So I think Kay was 6, and then that would have made Chris 8.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
no, he would have been about to turn 8.
Oh
He
yeah,
would have
something
been-
like
he
that.
was 7, about to turn 8. That's right. So I mean, that's the majority of their lives.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know.
It's been it's been a lot.
journey.
Yeah. But at least I can say that I am trying to do better than our parents did, especially my mother. Like, I still have to fight a lot of just like because I was expected to just know shit, even though no one like taught me. And I have to keep that in mind because I get irritated with, even though we've had kids this whole time, like this is not anything new. I still have
Why don't
to
you
work.
know this?
Yes.
But every parent goes through that. It's like, well, why don't you know this? Like, oh yeah, nobody's taught you yet.
Yep.
We take the shit for granted because we have not all, but we have that information now. So it's just like,
Well, that, and I had to figure it out a lot.
and that's
On my
the same
own.
thing I had to do. And like, I thought about it after the fact, way after the fact. Like, I never taught Chris how to shave. You know what I mean? And like, and I know that sounds trivial to some, but I was never taught either. I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's just something as simple as that, where you look back and you're like, oh, fuck. I don't have those stories with my kids.
Yeah. And that's,
And then it's the same thing with like video games. I didn't teach them how to play video games. They figured it out on their own because
Yes.
I had to figure it out on my own. So I just assumed that that's the way you're supposed to fucking do it.
yeah. I saw a video the other day. It was like, the chick, it was a middle child, and the older sister and younger brother, like, were handed everything or were more sheltered. But the middle child she was having to pay bills. She was having to do all this shit and was the responsible one. And I feel like that kind of dynamic happens between the older two and the younger two because we've changed as parents.
Yeah.
But it's weird having those conversations because it's like I understand, but I can't go back. It's like what's the alternative? I can't start treating them.
And self-flagellation is
Yeah.
not going to do any good because then we start beating ourselves up, and that translates into how we take care of the younger two.
But hopefully in time, or hopefully they do see that we are trying and that this is something that is not going to go back. We're not going to go backwards. So if something bothers them, even if they've talked to us about it before, that they can come to us and be like, hey, I still don't understand why blah, 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 because it seems so easy to me, and be like, you know what? I'm sorry. It wasn't easy for me.
It should have been. It should have been.
It should have been.
100% right. It should have been. And that's the realization that we've had about our parents. Like, showing up for everything is not that fucking complicated.
Yeah.
Because things weren't showing up for us in whatever metaphorical or literal sense.
Yeah. Showing up emotionally, all that stuff.
But they didn't know how to show up for us to meet our needs.
Yep.
We didn't know how to show up for our kids to meet their needs.
Yeah.
We were just meeting the needs that we had.
Or thought we were raising in the way that we thought we were supposed to.
Whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
But it was catered to what our shit was.
Yeah.
Not taking into consideration the experience that they had.
Right.
And that is where I think we fell short.
Because
I needed a firm hand whenever I was a kid.
And I don't think our kids needed that firm hand.
Not to the same extent, for sure.
Yeah.
And this is where we're at now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, no matter what, you're going to traumatize your fucking kids in some form or fashion.
Yeah, something's going to be not quite right.
If they say you haven't, they're lying to you to make you feel better. I have no delusions that my kids don't keep shit from me. Even when they were younger, I understood that they needed to have their own shit. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And they can talk to us. I mean, then I don't think...
Probably not, but...
No, definitely not. But I think now...
Kaylee was the one to fucking speak up the most, and she and I butted heads more than fucking anybody, go figure.
That's fair. But I hope now they see that because of all the work that we've been trying to do, that they can come to us with those things. If anything is making them uncomfortable or making them feel some kind of way, that they can come to us and be like, hey, XYZ, please don't. And we'd be like, oh, my bad, I'm sorry. Or like from their childhood, hey, I didn't like it when you did this. Hey, I'm sorry, I will try not to do that.
No, that was pretty shitty.
You're right, my bad.
Sorry.
Sorry. But yeah, life is hard. And having to do this and owning your part and
the accountability is the bitch.
Not only the accountability you played in other people's lives, but the role you play in your own
bullshit.
Yeah. The things you allowed, the things you did, the things that whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. The behaviors that you had and you didn't know any better. And then you have to look back and be like, why the fuck did I think that?
And then you have to...
And then you beat yourself up about that. And then it's just...
Then you have to forgive yourself.
Weird, vicious cycle. And that is the biggest thing. You have to learn how to forgive yourself. Yeah. And I still struggle with that.
Yes, you do. I mean, I do too, but
I think that's a bigger problem for me than you.
A little bit. But yeah, it's a difficult task to be self-aware. And one more thing before, because I know that we need to wrap this one up. But on a lighter note, I saw something that was saying that in order to be self-aware, you also have to acknowledge the good things about yourself. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, then you're just being an asshole to yourself. And I saw that, I was like...
And we both had to realize that. It's like, you're using... It's the conversation you and I have had about, I'm trying not to use my powers for evil.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's like, you're not using your superpowers for good. You're using them just for evil. You have to do both.
Yeah, you have to give yourself credit where credit is due.
And that's why one of the tattoos that I want is the Prime Jedi. Whenever they're on Octu, and that little whatever the fuck it is, little fountain thing in the mountain. Whenever Luke's trying to train Rey.
Yes,
that's the Prime Jedi.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's essentially the Star Wars universe's yin yang, because he's split down the middle, half dark, half light, with light on the dark side and dark on the light side. And that's always been me. You have to give yourself credit for both.
Yeah.
If you're going to give yourself all of
the shit,
which you should sit in it and you should acknowledge it. Well, you also have to give yourself credit for all the good that you've done.
All the work that you've done, how far you've come, how you don't react.
In the shitty times, the good that you did then, because it's not all bad.
That's fair.
You have to take the small victories in the dark times, and you have to take the downfalls in the good times.
That's fair.
It's just what it is. You have to look at it even-handedly, and that's where I struggle.
But yeah, it's this is not for the faint of heart.
No.
It is hard to be honest with yourself about any given situation. But if you are struggling, you're not alone.
Definitely not.
Just know that grace and patience with yourself is a necessity. It's a fucking necessity. And
bare necessities. The out thought or the in thought came out.
That's fair. But just know that even if you make mistakes, that it's okay. And that people are going to react to you in whatever way that they're going to react. And you have to understand that sometimes even their reactions have nothing to do with you.
It has to do with their experience and their perception.
Yep.
And it might not have anything to do with you. Sometimes it does.
And sometimes it's a projection.
Or sometimes it's shit that they've been through that they're reacting to that in this time.
Yes.
And I know that from personal fucking experience.
That's fair.
Like, I've done that where I've taken things out on you and then realized I wasn't even talking about you. I was talking about this, and it just kind of carried over for some reason.
But just know that it's okay. Just sit in it, feel it, let that shit go.
Process it.
Process that shit, because everyone's going through something, and
it's not easy for any of us.
No, it's not. And we just have to learn how to get through all of this. So, take care of yourselves. If you think someone else that you know may get something from this, share with them. Do all the social media shit. But mainly take care of yourself. Know that you're not alone. And we'll be here. Reach out if you need to. That's all I got, guys. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you like this episode or know someone who would, please help us grow the show by liking, subscribing, and sharing. Keep up with all episodes on Buzzsprout or anywhere else you get your podcasts.